Sephiroth's sword is one of the most iconic and terrifying swords in all of video game history, and here's how you can turn it into a devastating weapon for D&D. Within Final Fantasy VII, Sephiroth was designed to be the perfect enemy for Cloud, so while the Buster Sword is incredibly thick, Sephiroth's sword, Masamune, is ridiculously long. But how long exactly? The dimensions for Masamune are incredibly inconsistent, with official sources even giving different lengths of the sword. That being said, we know that the sword is around 7 feet long, placing it firmly, to no one's surprise, as a long sword in D&D. But this isn't your normal longsword. A normal longsword is only about 3.5 feet long. Meanwhile, Sephiroth's sword is over double that amount. So take that standard 5 feet of range for a longsword in D&D and bump it up to 10 feet so that you can slash your enemies in true Sephiroth fashion. But I know what you're thinking, well, what about the damage? Well, in D&D, a longsword typically only does 1d8 damage if it's being held with one hand, or 1d10 damage if being held with two hands. But like, have you seen this guy? Does it look like he's doing 1d8 or 1d10 damage? Let's take that 1d8 damage and give this sword some incredible abilities to ensure that your enemies will hear boss music kick in the moment you step onto the battlefield. And hey, if you're liking this video, don't forget to hit that like button, or better yet, slash it into a million pieces, just like you'll be doing to your enemies if you have this sword. Because while Sephiroth's sword is essentially just a ridiculously long katana, we know for a fact that it can completely annihilate anybody that opposes it, and in some cases even do damage from range. So let's take that 1d8, 1d10 slashing damage, and add on top of it 1d10 force damage in a 15-foot cone, giving you extra range as well as splash damage to deal with bundles of enemies. You know what, there's something missing, something that I guarantee all of you have seen. What is it? What? Oh, that's right, the iconic stab. This actually gets a little bit tricky because in D&D there's not a whole lot of weapons that can actually pin down or immobilize opponents. But there is something that we can use. The Man Catcher is a weapon in D&D with the special ability of being able to grapple a medium or smaller enemy. So let's take that special ability, add it on Sephiroth's sword, and instead of a grapple, turn it into a restrained condition with a DC 14 strength saving throw on top of it. Now any player that wields this sword can effectively choose to either do the standard slashing and force damage, or a 1d6 piercing damage with the ability to restrain a target that you hit, granting you advantage against them in your next attack. But is that still not enough? Do you want even more damage? Do you want more mayhem? Then I've got one last thing for you. You see my boy right there? Do you see him strike? Probably not, because it's so fast, and we're gonna make that an ability of the sword. Quick Slash is an incredibly dangerous ability that allows the wielder of a weapon with this trait to be able to use a normal attack and then also a bonus action to attack yet again. Meaning that if we give this to Sephiroth's sword, at its very base level, you'll be doing 2d10 slashing damage and 2d10 force damage per turn. Add some class bonuses on top of that, including ones that have extra attacks built into themselves, and you could be doing crazy amounts of damage every single turn. They hefty base damage as well as some crazy abilities to help you decimate your opponents. You now have one of the most powerful weapons you could possibly wish for in your D&D adventure. So what do you want to see adapted into D&D next? Leave it in the comments down below, and again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you so much, and until next time, keep questing.